Live. All right, folks. Mañana No Mas. Good morning. How are you today? Today is Wednesday. It is July 22nd, 2020. And I am reaching out to you today. Boom. Reaching out to you today with the morning check in. Almost on time today, right? So, which is a lot better than yesterday. So, it was like a conspiracy theory this morning. Right as I'm about to fire up the Mañana No Mas morning check-in, guy fires up a weed whacker, lawn services next door, and he fires up the weed whacker right next to my work area. And I'm just like, you've got to be kidding me. But it was good because I went and got me another cup of coffee. And man, just want to greet the day. Now, lots of cool things are still happening today. Now, I put out the newsletter yesterday, and I had a couple of people respond and go, dude, I get it. I mean, you are talking right where I'm at. I've had a lot of similar thoughts lately. So, the gist of the newsletter, there was a couple of things in the newsletter, but in regards to service related industries related to consumer products. So when you have an intricate consumer product, a bicycle, a computer, a car, um, a dishwasher, right? When you have an intricate consumer product, there is a thing called sales, right? Which is how they sell the product to you. And then there's a thing called after sales. And after sales is all that stuff on the back end that needs to be managed, right? Getting replacement parts, having service people available to repair the unit if necessary, how the warranty works if there's a warranty, and dealing with that whole side. So there's sales, and then there's after sales. Now, after sales at some companies is looked at as kind of like a necessary evil. It's looked at like, well, this is our profit reduction center, right? We made the money selling the product, and now we got to spend money to try and keep people happy with the product. But that's not really how business works, right? Some people in the business even think of it this way, but that's not how it works. You can make money on sales, right? And then through proper communication and relationship development, stuff like that, you can still make a profit in after sales. Right now, if the unit's under warranty and it fails, you need to fix it. But you have, escrow accounts and business accounts that have funding to cover that. You keep a certain amount of money in reserves from manufacturing, development, and sales. You keep some money in reserves to cover a planned expense of warranty repair. And then so that's almost like free money. And then I say free money. No one believes in free money, by the way. But that's like you've planned on that expense, right? And then so as long as your quality control is good enough on the manufacturing side, you won't have to worry about going over that reserve, right? You plan the reserve for a certain amount, and then hopefully those warranty repairs fall well within that reserve, and then this is additional profits, right? So that's how that kind of works. And then outside of warranty, that's another profit center. That's where you sell parts and labor to repair the unit, or trade the unit in, get the customer into a new one, so a resale, right? Back into the sales model, trade the unit in, and then do what they call reconditioning to sell a remanufactured unit, which again is another profit center. So, I was kind of explaining some of that in the newsletter yesterday, and I didn't explain it to that extent. I explained it from, hey, those of you that are dealers already know that there's going to be a supply chain shortage, and we're going to need to train our service people on how to deal with this more effectively, right? We're going to have to make sure that the people on the front lines of our service areas know that they are the ones that are going to be generating the main profit during a supply chain shortage. If sales can't get the product they need to sell, then service is going to have to make sure that they're super efficient and productive to be able to come up with profit for that business to work, right? And so I discussed that in the newsletter a little bit and talked about how important the training was for that. And I got a lot of really good responses from it. I was really glad to see that folks were taking in the content, understanding the content, and then giving feedback against the content. So I was really pleased about that. The other thing was, and this came as kind of a shock, I'm raising the price on this whole training thing. I've got a phase program for how I'm bringing the Mañana No Mas fixed operations training to the masses, to the dealer networks. If you're in power sports, marine, bicycle, RV, even, I've got a whole program on how to improve your communication at the service counter, how to evaluate the processes within your service department, and then how to make changes within your service department communication and processes to improve the efficiencies, right? The productivity and the efficiency of your shop and generate more profit. I'm really, really, really good at this. And so I train these businesses how to do this. And so I've long before COVID came up with a way to put a lot of the content online and have a virtual training center, an academy. And in my mind, I know that this sounds like a big picture, but I'm going to say it out loud and make it official. In my mind, I always pictured having an academy. I mean, like a real academy, like certifying people to do this job. I was in the car business for over 20 years, and the depth of differences in service writers and techniques and communication styles and the ineffectiveness in these departments because nobody's ever professionally trained them on leadership and communication. So I'm like, if you could figure out leadership and communication at that level and specialize in that, you would have a product, which is what I have. So I put all this stuff online, and in my mind, I thought someday I'll have an academy where I can actually certify people, right? So eventually, and it was at the time I called my business Von Concepts when I came up with the idea. So I always thought there'd be Von Concepts certified, service writers and managers. Well, since then my business has evolved. The Mañana No Mas name has kind of taken a brand of its own, and I'm rolling with Mañana No Mas. And to have a Mañana No Mas certified service writer, service manager on your staff could mean something. It could mean like just last week, I gave a service writer the ability to take a look at how he was establishing his quotes, his estimates in the power sports industry. And I'm like, dude, if you did this differently, looking at your existing workflow, you'd create another $500,000 to $600,000 in parts and labor sales for your business every year. Right? That's huge. When we take a look at pushing motorcycles out of the shop in the morning, right, and putting them back at night, I said, okay, well, you've got two technicians, you're spending this much time on it, your shop rate is this, parts and labor for that amount of time that you would sell during that time, it comes out to about $280,000 a year that you are missing on sales opportunities because you're pushing motorcycles. Now you run that by a business owner and you go, hey, me pushing these bikes is costing $280,000 a year. At that rate, wouldn't you just hire an hourly employee for $10 an hour to come in part-time, push motorcycles in the morning, take the middle of the day off, come back in the evening, push the motorcycles back in the shop, and let the technicians make the 280 grand a year for your business? It's that kind of stuff. I was talking to a guy, bicycle salesperson. Uh, shouldn't say it like that. He is a consultant that is a sales trainer for bicycle shops, right? So boom, big picture. And him and I were talking, and I said, dude, I just went down to a pretty famous bike shop here in Corona, and right out front is a big sign on a stick says, you cannot drop off your bicycle for service here any longer. We're backed up. I said, they put this sign right in front of the building, dude. How many customers are they going to sever the relationship with that sign in the front of their building? Like, I'm blown away. I can't believe what I'm seeing. And here's the deal. There's tons of unemployed bicycle enthusiasts all over my neighborhood that the store knows, right? Why in the world would they not pick up the phone and go, hey, they call me? Hey, Kurt, we're going to have like 10 bikes here that need tune-ups this week. Is that something you could help us do? And they could literally have 8 to 10 subcontractors locally that could pick up the product, service it, deliver the product, charge them a flat fee, and then they can mark it up 35%. They can make customers happy, create a 35% margin, and nobody would be the wiser, and the work would be fine, right? I mean, they would set the standards. They would have to, print documents. It would take some planning, But if they would foresee this, because they do it every year, if they would foresee this, this COVID crisis backup wouldn't be such the disaster that it is. So these were the things that, kind of came up through the newsletter, the feedback that I've been getting. And then I said the surprise was I announced I was raising the price of the training, and not a single person so far has said, "You're crazy, nobody's going to pay that." Instead, what I got was, "I don't blame you for raising the price because I thought you were too cheap in the first place." Well, here's the deal. I was talking about the phases. So if you weren't in phase one and you wish that you were in the training, you might be upset. But phase one, I let people in for free. Phase one was beta testing. So I let a handful of dealers in for free, right? And in exchange, I got use of their numbers, I got use of their information, and I told them that they were going to be used as a case study to sell future students. So there's no secrecy in this. If you're part of the beta program, your information is your experiences, the stories from your training, they're going to be shared. They're going to be part of what I use to promote this business going forward. So that was phase one. Phase two, I wanted to see what a paid model would look like to come in and take the start of what this academy was, and it only started out with like 3 courses. And now I think it's up to 6 or 7, that I've assigned to the Power Sports Fixed Operations course. And so that paid model launched at $1,495. And that was for a year per person at the dealership. So if a dealership has 3 people they want to put in training, it's $4,500. If they have 2 people they want to put in training, it's $3,000 a year. They have access to all the content, and they get access to the biweekly support calls that I do live on Zoom, right? So $1,500, boom. And you get access to all the content. You get access to me on the live calls every 2 weeks, and you get access to other people at other dealers. So you can do some peer training, peer learning, kind of put your heads together and grow things. And as the network grows, of course, it becomes more and more valuable, right? Because as the community grows, there's more of a wealth and a diversity of information and regional knowledge that begins to add more and more value to this. Now I'm continuing to add more and more content to this. Remember, my goal is to have a certification program, right? Like a real academy, like everything, like how to communicate, how to use software, how to sell jobs, entry-level diagnostic talk that you can, how do you interpret a technician to a customer, things like that. So these are things I'm super passionate about, and this is some of the work that I'm developing in the background. So as that content continues to develop and the network continues to develop, it's one thing to go wide, it's another thing to go deep, but to go deep and wide, that's amazing, right? So that's what we're working on right now. Well, right now we're entering phase 3. Phase 3 starts August 1st. Phase 3 is not $1,495 for the year. It is now $3,495 for the year, right? So a $2,000 savings can be felt right now. If you own a dealership or have a friend that owns a dealership, they can save $2,000 this year by jumping in. Not only that, when you lock yourself into one of my programs, you've locked yourself into that pricing as long as you stay subscribed, right? So let's say you do it for 2 years, well, then you just save $4,000 by signing up today. So that's a smoking hot deal, right? Phase 3. Phase 3, there's going to be a couple more courses added. I may increase the volume of the live support calls and begin to split things into territories like East Coast, Midwest, and West Coast, right? If that makes sense. So I can do a better job of meeting people's time requirements instead of scheduling something like noon on a Wednesday. Who wants to be on a support call noon on Wednesday? They got a business to run. So, I have some options. So remember, as the fee increases, so does the access, right? So we'll have multiple classes that people can sign into for the live support calls. And then by the time we get to phase 4, which could be, a year to 18 months down the road, phase 4, there'll be a substantial increase in course load. The fee will go up. I'll probably introduce a monthly model and a yearly model for subscription. The monthly model is going to be expensive. Here's why. Because a lot of dealer owners are going to think, I don't need to do a whole year. I'll throw Jim Bob in for a month and we'll see what we get, right? Well, here's the problem. I can't tell you how many times I've experienced this as a professional corporate trainer. Dealer owners and business owners in general, they make an assumption that their staff is here, right? And you just need to get from here to here and you're going to knock it out of the park, right? Because you just got to go from here to here. Here's the problem. You're not here. Nobody's here, right? So what happens is a lot of times you're down here, right? And there's this gap that needs to be filled just so you can get to what people think is normal. You're not. People don't realize the struggle you're having. You know, if the phone rings and you dread hearing the phone, that's a sign that something's broke, right? If your dealer principal is receiving phone calls from service customers wondering where their bike is, that's a problem. If you have technicians going home at 3 o'clock because you don't have parts ready for an order that had been there for a week waiting for parts, that's a problem, right? And so I'm mentioning all these things and you're going, oh, that happens all the time. That happens all the time. Well, it doesn't happen all the time, just happens some of the time, right? But if I'm saying that these things happen, that's a problem. We need to get to where you're here, right? You know what here is? Here is you have a regimen every day that you do. You have a set of meetings that you handle with additional managers every day, and you have your technicians planned out for work for the next 3 to 4 days, right? And things are smooth sailing. Every new phone call that comes in is new business, not somebody calling to check on their vehicle, right? Every time that phone rings, that's money. You grab the phone and you're happy to grab it because every chance that phone rings, it's a chance for money. And that's what happens when you're here. Now, can you imagine what going from here to here looks like for your business? Because I've had that, right? I've had businesses go from here to here, right? When you take a look at some of the really, really good power sports dealerships that I've been able to have some influence on, especially working with Ducati and Suzuki, you know, that's where that money is. It's good stuff. But let's face facts. You're not here yet. You're still here. And that's what this online academy is about. It's about backfilling things in, how to use the phone as an effective sales tool, what a service sales funnel looks like, and how to dispatch your work through the shop in the most efficient, productive way possible to create the most amount of profit, and how to keep your technicians busy from the time they get in to the time they leave. And if they're leaving at 3 o'clock in the afternoon because you ran out of parts, that's a problem, right? Because realistically, we should be able to keep them busy all day long. And if your technicians are walking around talking on their cell phone because they got time between ROs and you got a 3-week waiting list to get another bike into your shop, that's another one of those problems that we need to address. And there's a way to address it without threatening people. There's a way to communicate with your technicians and say, hey, you want a raise? How would an extra 600 hours a year look on your paycheck if I'm paying you $30 an hour for flat rate? You know, start working that math and go, dude, I can get you a raise. I can make this happen for you. You're here anyway. Why don't we just generate the work and get it done? Right. And then through partnership and communication, you make that happen. So once again, I've gone on too long. I'll talk to you later. Uh, it was good. You know, I think we're having a really good week. I hope that this is an influence on your week. And I hope that I'm inspiring somebody, right? Whether it's the mountain bike talk and the fitness and the get off the sofa and physical fitness leads to fiscal fitness. I truly believe that. You can only achieve as much as your body will allow you to achieve, right? So I'm really big on the physical fitness and being the best version of you that you can be. And then when you're being the best version of you can be, if you're in the power sports and marine industries, man, I've got a whole thing for you guys. So, you know where I'm at about the broken supply chain and how important service is. And you also know where I'm at as far as training. Now's the time. You can save yourself $2,000 a year per person to get into the Mañana No Mas Academy now. Start soaking up that content, invest in your people, and get access to me on the biweekly calls. I can help you transform the service department into something that's not a necessary evil. I can transform it into an asset for your business that will outperform the other departments if you just let it. All right? Have a good one. I love you guys. Take it easy and have a great